What I learned during quarantine is the importance of self-care and relaxation, the importance of being aware of your actions and how they affect other people.
Before the pandemic, I didn't realize how unsanitary all the everyday things I did truly were. So, if anything, it's just made me super conscious about the choices I make and how clean I need to be.
I've learned that I actually like going to school in person. I needed that social interaction, and I didn't know that about myself until the pandemic happened.
I never really appreciated my life as much as I should have. I started missing things that I wouldn't have even given a second thought to about before, and I didn't really notice how much I missed them until it was gone.
Now I'm constantly thinking about if something's sanitary or if it's safe.
Some things I've learned during the pandemic while in quarantine is that it's okay to have a resting period.
I have learned so much more about myself. What are my interests? What are not my interests? What I'm going to do in the future? What am I going to do as a career?
I feel like I did come out of quarantine a different person because during quarantine I was able to actually sit down and watch TV, listen to music, practice my instrument a lot more.
I believe I've gone out of quarantine a different person because I'm a lot more grateful for my family, my friends, everyone who's in my life.
It's helped me become more responsible.
The coronavirus has shaped my perception of the environment and the little things.
Some things I did during quarantine to take care of my mental health were I painted, I would go on a run or a bike ride or walk with my dogs, listening to music really loud, with my mask on, of course.
It's affected me in, I think, one of the best ways possible. It's made me more aware of the things going on around the world, which I never really paid attention to before, and now it's something I think about every day.
Now, because of this, we have a global scale of what is going on, and now people can see what is happening to Black people, whether that be massive incarcerations, police brutality, or just blatant prejudice. Without the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm not sure enough people would understand what was happening, and I'm so glad it gained traction because now people understand.
Quarantine has increased my interest in politics and social issues. I always knew that things like racial injustice, racism, inequality were a problem, but I never really realized how big of a problem it was until the world just stopped.
My eyes were open to this whole new world that I didn't know was this big, and so I've definitely become a lot more into politics, social issues, making sure I get other people involved.
Quarantine has definitely increased my political activity because before then, I never really paid attention to politics. I didn't find it necessary. But then with all the Black Lives Matter protests happening, with the way politicians were handling COVID-19, I saw how important it was to be politically active and know what's happening in our world.
I've had a lot more time to be on social media and keep up with the election and just educate myself about a bunch of different issues going on.
The lack of action on the pandemic was appalling from the standpoint of politicians, so when the Black Lives Matter movement really got, so big during summer, and politicians yet again didn't seem to do very much about police brutality, it just radicalized me further.
In light of all the current events, that have shown how dire it is that people care and are involved and try to make the world, a better place and try and create positive change.
There's so many issues going on that don't feel right to just stand by and watch happen, especially as young people. We have so much power to influence change with our voices and with our actions.
I feel like government officials could do a lot better of a job to take care of their people and let them know that they're there for them.
I noticed how ignorant and inconsiderate many politicians' reactions were. It angered me to see politicians with huge names spreading false information with millions of people listening to them.
A lot of them didn't take enough steps to actually prevent the escalation of the pandemic.
I really feel like the reaction of politicians in this pandemic has affected me in a way to be more vocal about what we as students believe.
it was hard to do everything virtually, and then going back to school is like really draining.
It's a lot harder to retain things from just a Teams call than it is to, actually be there in person.
Not being around a normal school environment and around friends has been difficult.
It's definitely been challenging to learn.
No, it hasn't really affected my career choice, but it's definitely given me more time to think about in a career what makes me feel fulfilled, and are the ways that I spend my time making me feel fulfilled. And so it's allowed me to think about my career a lot and think about if I'm doing something that makes me feel fulfilled and something that I can do for a long time, because I've had a lot of time to myself, so you get to know yourself better. But I'm thankful for having that time to discover myself a little bit more.
The pandemic has changed my career choice because the pandemic helped me see how important doctors are and honestly opened my interest to the medical field. And at the same time, with all the political reform happening, it kind of made me interested in politics as well, opening 2 new fields to me.
My art is singing. That is what I do. That is one of my favorite things to do. And honestly, 2020, a lot has happened with the coronavirus and the Black Lives Matter movement and the debate and just everything. And starting off with the coronavirus, it's really kept me at the beginning, I was using it a lot to just sing in my house and just sing around. And at school, that's when it kind of changed, because that's what I do there. And having a mask around my mouth and my nose is very hard to sing to my full potential that I'm trying to. So it's made it difficult in that area. But whenever I'm at home, music is one of my favorite things to either sing or listen to or just hear. And it's definitely been very impactful. It's made me happy. It's made me sad. I love music, so honestly, it's been great.
Art has changed my 2020 by providing a sense of escape from the horrible year that we just finished. I feel like it was like the only way to sort of, ground yourself back in reality, which is weird because it's escapism, but if reality is so bad right now, you need something to sort of lighten the mood a little bit to make you feel better.
Definitely art influenced my 2020 because it was always my supportive backbone. I was always relying on art to take care of myself, and channeling what I was going through paintings and making little videos, and just even educating myself through mediums of art like film, like poetry, and so many other outlets. And because of its ability to transform and heal. So yeah.
So my art has definitely changed in regards to how I view the world, just because I view the world so much differently now, versus like before quarantine. And my art has changed to reflect that like new understanding, because I feel like during the pandemic, like a lot of like injustices have been brought to light, and like things that like were always wrong and like that were always there, like have really been brought to light during the pandemic. And like have really, my art used to be like really fictionalized, and there might have been like a little like deeper meaning that was like rooted in a social issue, but it was really sugar coated. And I feel like my art has definitely changed because now I don't sugarcoat it anymore, and it's like it should make you feel uncomfortable hearing about the wrongs of this country and the injustices that are still prevalent today. Like, that should make you uncomfortable. Like, it's not my job, like as a creative writer, like as a poet, to make you feel comfortable about these things or make you feel better by adding a little like flowery metaphor in there. And I caught myself doing that a lot with my poems and like my all of my like writings. And so I feel like my art has changed because now like I'm more straightforward with it.
Art has changed how I view the world because it lets me know that there's still good and hope out there. Without art, all I would see is news and media coverage about the next bad thing that's happening in the world. But when I surround myself with art and other artists, we all just uplift each other with such joy and passion. We all are striving to do the same thing, and we are all so hard working towards a common goal. We're not worried about the next saddest thing to occur. While we do focus on the adversities, we realize that we cannot let it consume us, or else we will become just like them. When we surround ourselves by art, we're making ourselves happier and more motivated people.